First contact protocols. The vast expanse of space stretched before the Valorian science vessel Cosmic Seeker as it glided through the outer reaches of what humans called the Orion Arm. Captain Zara Vex stood on the command deck, her translucent skin reflecting the blue glow of the ship's monitors. Her species had explored thousands of star systems over centuries, cataloging, analyzing, and occasionally making contact with new life forms. "Captain, we're detecting unusual energy signatures in the next system," reported Navigation Officer Krill, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as he studied the readings. Zara moved closer, her fluid movements characteristic of Valorian physiology. Classification: unknown, but the energy patterns suggest advanced propulsion systems. Definitely artificial and definitely moving with purpose. "Interesting," Zora murmured. The Valorian Exploration Guild had strict protocols for first contact scenarios. Their mission was scientific, not military, though the Cosmic Seeker was equipped with defensive capabilities should the need arise. "Take us in cautiously. Standard approach vectors." As the Cosmic Seeker entered the system, the source of the energy signatures became visible. 3 vessels of unfamiliar design moved in formation. Their hulls were dark, absorbing rather than reflecting light, with sharp angles that gave them a predatory appearance. Analysis: Zara asked Science Officer Talon Drez, who was already running preliminary scans of the system. Talon's cranial ridges pulsed with bioluminescent excitement. "The vessels appear to be from a species we haven't encountered before. Based on design aesthetics and energy outputs, I'd classify them as military craft." Zara's fins flattened against her skull, a sign of caution among Valorians. "Military vessels in unexplored space. Unusual." "Captain," Communications Officer Mira called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the lead vessel. They're broadcasting in multiple formats, including several universal mathematical sequences. They're trying to establish communication," Zara noted. "Put it on the main viewer." The large display at the front of the command deck flickered before revealing the interior of the unknown vessel. A bipedal creature sat in what appeared to be a command chair. It had no translucent skin like Valorians, no multiple eyes like Krill's species. Instead, it possessed an opaque epidermis in varying shades of brown and a covering of dark fur atop its head. "Greetings," the creature said, its vocalization translated by the ship's computers. "I am Captain Maya Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Force vessel Indomitable. We represent humanity and the Sol Alliance. We come with peaceful intentions, but are prepared to defend ourselves if necessary." Zara stepped forward. "I am Captain Zara Vex of the Valorian science vessel Cosmic Seeker. We are explorers representing the Galactic Concordance, a peaceful coalition of species. We welcome this contact and assure you our intentions are scientific, not hostile." Captain Rodriguez nodded, a gesture the Valorian's cultural database identified as affirmative acknowledgement. "We're pleased to hear that. Our sensors detected your approach. Standard protocol for the Earth Defense Force is to investigate unidentified vessels entering our claimed systems." "Claimed systems?" Zara questioned. "Our charts don't indicate this star system is under any species jurisdiction. We've only recently expanded our exploration and colonization efforts to this region," Rodriguez explained. "Our colony on the 4th planet is less than 2 years old." Talon whispered to Zara, "Captain, their technology appears both familiar and alien. I recommend a comprehensive scan of their vessels to better understand their capabilities before proceeding with diplomatic protocols." Zara hesitated. The Concordance protocols were clear. Scan first, then engage in deeper diplomatic relations. Knowledge was safety in their view, but something about these human ships gave her pause. "Captain Rodriguez," Zara said, "as part of our standard first contact procedures, we typically conduct non-invasive scans of new species vessels. Would this be acceptable?" Rodriguez's expression changed subtly. "I understand the scientific curiosity, Captain Vex, but Earth Defense Force vessels operate under strict security protocols. We'd prefer to share technical specifications through diplomatic channels rather than allow direct scanning of our military vessels. Talon looked alarmed. Captain, this is highly irregular. The scans are standard procedure. Zara raised a webbed hand to silence him. We respect your security concerns, Captain Rodriguez. Perhaps we can arrange an exchange of cultural and scientific information instead, as a first step. After the initial conversation ended, Talon confronted Zora in the ship's conference room. Captain, with all due respect, you're abandoning standard protocol. We need that scan data to evaluate potential threats. I understand your concern, Talon, Zara replied calmly. But these humans have clearly stated their boundaries. Pushing too hard too quickly could jeopardize relations with a new spacefaring species. At least let me run a passive scan, Talon insisted. Basic energy readings, nothing invasive. Zara considered this. Very limited passive scans only. Nothing that could be interpreted as probing their defenses. Talon didn't look satisfied, but he nodded his agreement. 2 days passed with peaceful exchanges of basic cultural and scientific information. The humans proved fascinating. A young species that had achieved faster-than-light travel despite numerous planetary conflicts and environmental challenges. They were adaptable, innovative, and surprisingly diverse for a single-planet species. On the 3rd day, Zara was awakened by an urgent ship-wide alert. She rushed to the command deck to find chaos. Systems were malfunctioning, displays flickered, and several crew members appeared disoriented. What's happening? She demanded. First Officer Naren looked up from a console. We're experiencing cascading system failures across multiple sections. It started in the science lab. Zara immediately understood. Talon, where is he? In the medical bay, Naren replied grimly. He's conscious but experiencing neural feedback symptoms. The main viewer activated, showing Captain Rodriguez. Her expression was stern. Captain Vex, we detected an active scanning attempt targeting our vessel's defensive systems. This violates the boundaries we clearly established. Zara felt her skin pale with dismay. Captain Rodriguez, I assure you this was not authorized. Please accept my deepest apologies. I understand that officers sometimes act independently, Rodriguez said, her tone measured. However, I should inform you that Earth vessels are equipped with automated countermeasures against unauthorized scans. What your science officer experienced was our most basic defensive response, essentially a warning. A warning? Zara asked, looking around at her damaged ship and injured crew. Yes, Rodriguez confirmed. Had this been an actual combat situation, your vessel would have experienced complete systems failure. Human history taught us to be prepared for both diplomatic encounters and less friendly ones. After Rodriguez's transmission ended, Zara visited Talon in the medical bay. The science officer lay on a recovery platform, neural stabilizers attached to his cranial ridges. What were you thinking? She asked, not bothering to hide her disappointment. I was careful, Talon whispered. Used our most sophisticated probes. Directed only at their secondary systems, he winced. Their countermeasures. They were unlike anything in our database, not just technological. Almost. Intelligent. You violated my direct orders, Zora said firmly. And more importantly, you violated the trust we were building with a new species. There's something about their technology, Talon insisted weakly. It's as if their defensive systems were designed specifically to counter scanning attempts. No species develops that without reason. Zera's fins rippled with concern. What are you suggesting? That this isn't the first time humans have encountered alien species, Talon said. And perhaps those previous encounters weren't as peaceful as our own. Zara left the medical bay with troubling thoughts. The human ships remained in position nearby, neither approaching nor retreating. Their response had been measured, a warning, not an attack. But the implications were clear. Humanity was a species that came prepared for hostility, even while offering peace. She returned to the command deck and opened a channel to the Indomitable. Captain Rodriguez, I propose a direct meeting between our officers. No technology, no scans, just representatives meeting face to face. Perhaps then we can begin to rebuild the trust that my officer's actions have damaged. Rodriguez considered this for a moment. Agreed, but not on either of our vessels. There's a small uninhabited moon in this system. We can establish a temporary neutral meeting facility there. As Zara ended the transmission, she couldn't help but wonder what other surprises these humans might have in store. They were clearly more advanced and more cautious than their relatively recent arrival to interstellar travel would suggest. The question was why. The truth behind human defenses. 3 days after the scanning incident, representatives from both the Valorian vessel and the human fleet met on the barren surface of a small moon. A pressurized dome had been quickly established, with atmosphere and gravity settings acceptable to both species. Captain Zara Vex led a small delegation that included Medical Officer Lena Sen and Cultural Specialist Jornex. Notably absent was Talon Drez, who remained under observation in the medical bay, still experiencing occasional neural disturbances from the scan counterattack. Captain Maya Rodriguez entered with her own team. Tactical Officer Commander Wei Chen, Chief Engineer Lieutenant Commander Aisha Okafor, and Science Specialist Dr. Thomas Klein. Unlike the Valorians, who wore minimal environmental suits that showcased their natural biology, the humans were fully covered in sleek uniforms that revealed little of their physiology. "Thank you for agreeing to this meeting," Zara began formally, her translator conveying her words to the humans. "I want to reiterate our regret over the unauthorized scan." Rodriguez nodded. "We accept your apology, Captain, and we appreciate your willingness to meet in person. It speaks to your genuine interest in peaceful relations." "Before we proceed," Zara said, "there's a question I must ask directly. Has humanity encountered other alien species before us?" The human officers exchanged glances before Rodriguez answered, "Yes. 3 distinct civilizations prior to the Valorians. Those encounters were educational." "Were they hostile?" Jornex asked. The cultural specialist's interest piqued. "Not initially," Commander Chen replied. "But in each case, misunderstandings led to conflict. We learned the hard way that species can have vastly different concepts of territory, communication, and threat assessment." Dr. Klein added, "After our first contact with the Axiom Collective went badly, we developed specialized defensive technologies. The anti-scanning systems that affected your science officer were part of that development." "What happened with this Axiom Collective?" Zara asked. "They scanned our ships thoroughly during first contact," Rodriguez explained. "What they found was a species, us, that had spent most of its history fighting itself. Our vessels were designed with warfare in mind, even our exploratory ships. They concluded we were too dangerous to allow into the wider galaxy. They attacked." Lena Sen asked, her medical training making her particularly sensitive to discussions of violence. "They attempted to neutralize our fleet," Rodriguez confirmed. "We survived, but barely. The encounter taught us that in space, information can be as powerful as any weapon." Engineer Okafor spoke up. "Our defensive systems are designed to protect not just our physical vessels, but also information about our capabilities. When your officer attempted to scan our ships, the system responded automatically, providing false data while simultaneously tracing the scan back to its source and delivering a proportional countermeasure." "Fascinating," Jor murmured. "Your entire approach to defense is information-based." "Humans evolved as pattern recognizers," Dr. Klein explained. "We're constantly looking for information, analyzing it, and preparing for threats. When we moved into space, we brought that mindset with us." Zara considered this carefully. "Your defenses caused neural feedback in Talon. How is that possible through a standard scanning beam?" The humans exchanged another look before Rodriguez answered. "Our systems detected the neural interface your officer was using to process the scan data. Rather than simply blocking the scan, our countermeasures sent a carefully calibrated response back through the same channel." "That's..." Zara struggled to find the right word. Invasive. It's defensive, Chen corrected, and specifically designed to discourage rather than harm. Had we wished to cause permanent damage, we could have. The conversation might have grown tense then, but a sudden alert interrupted them. Both captains received simultaneous communications from their vessels. "Captain," came Niren's voice to Zara, "we're detecting multiple vessels entering the system. Configuration unknown, but energy signatures suggest significant weaponry." Rodriguez was receiving similar information. "Understood." She responded to her own communication. "Maintain defensive posture, but do not engage unless attacked." The two captains looked at each other across the meeting table. "It seems we have company," Rodriguez said calmly. "Unknown vessels," Zara confirmed. "Not concordance." The meeting was cut short as both delegations returned to their respective ships. From the command deck of the Cosmic Seeker, Zara watched as 7 vessels entered the system. Their design was angular and predatory, similar in some ways to the human ships, but with a biological component integrated into their hulls. "The vessels are transmitting," Mira reported. "Translators are processing. It's a demand for our immediate surrender and the surrender of the human vessels." "Identification?" Zara asked. "They identify as the Carax Imperium. No match in our database." The main viewer activated, showing Captain Rodriguez. "Captain Vex, are you familiar with these Carax?" "No," Zora admitted. "They're unknown to the Concordance. They're demanding surrender," Rodriguez said. "Standard pirate tactic. Prey on vessels in remote systems, especially those that appear to be in diplomatic discussions rather than combat-ready." "The Cosmic Seeker is primarily a science vessel," Zara said. "Our defensive capabilities are limited." Rodriguez's expression became thoughtful. "Captain, I'm about to suggest something unusual. Would you permit a limited integration of our defensive systems with your vessel? Nothing permanent, but enough to coordinate our response to this threat." Zara hesitated only briefly. "Agreed. What do you propose?" "We'll transmit a specialized defensive protocol to your ship. It won't give us access to your systems, but it will mask your energy signature to make it appear that you're equipped with the same anti-scanning technology as our vessels." As the Carax ships approached, the human technicians worked quickly with the Valorian crew to implement the defensive protocol. When the lead Carax vessel launched its scan, the results were immediate and dramatic. The scanning beam rebounded, carrying the human defensive countermeasure. The Carax ship's systems flickered visibly, and it began to drift out of formation. "They're hailing us," Mira reported with surprise. The Carax commander appeared on screen, his chitinous faceplates clicking with agitation. "How did you? Impossible. Your vessels should not possess such defenses. This system is under the protection of both the Earth Defense Force and the Galactic Concordance," Rodriguez declared firmly. "Your scanning attack has been neutralized as a warning. Withdraw immediately or face more severe consequences." The Carax vessels retreated hastily, their formation disorganized after the unexpected failure of their lead ship. Later, as the human and Valorian officers met again on the Cosmic Seeker, the mood was markedly different. "Your defensive technology saved both our vessels," Zara acknowledged. "And you shared it without hesitation when we faced a common threat." "The protocol we provided was temporary," Okafor explained. "It's already degrading. But we'd be willing to provide more permanent defensive measures as part of a mutual defense agreement." Zara looked thoughtful. "The Concordance Council will be very interested in both your technology and your experiences with other species. Your approach to space, cautious yet prepared, is different from our own." "We've learned to be careful," Rodriguez said, "but that doesn't mean we're not interested in peaceful relations and exchange. Quite the opposite. Our history has taught us the value of strong alliances. I believe I understand now why you were so protective of your ship data," Zara said. "Your defensive systems aren't just about protecting your vessels. They're about ensuring that any species who might have hostile intentions thinks twice before acting on them." Rodriguez smiled. "Exactly. Human history is filled with deterrence theory, the idea that sometimes the best way to avoid conflict is to make it too costly for an aggressor to consider. A philosophy the Karaks just learned firsthand, Zara noted. As the meeting concluded, Zara found herself reflecting on the ironies of first contact. The very incident that had nearly derailed relations with the humans, Talon's unauthorized scan, had ultimately revealed the value of humanity's unique approach to defense. Sometimes it seemed the best way to learn about a new species was not through scanning their technology, but through facing challenges alongside them. The Cosmic Seeker would soon continue its exploration mission, but now with a new understanding. In the vast darkness of space, some species developed strength through scientific advancement, others through diplomatic connections, and still others, like humans, through preparedness born of difficult experiences. And perhaps most importantly, Zora had learned a lesson she would share with the Concordance. Sometimes the most valuable information about a new species comes not from what your scanners tell you, but from what those species choose to protect. Retriclaude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.